Welcome to this van tour. It's a 2012 VW Crafter. Let me just rinse the van off. We'll take it up onto Dartmoor. We'll find somewhere pretty to show you the van. See you in a bit. Welcome to Dartmoor. Here's my VW Crafter. It's a 2012 model. It's a self-build van conversion. So I'm here today to do a van tour and to show you all the things that I've done. And also, as we go along, I'm going to talk you through the things that I'd like to redo. This is my third van conversion, but as ever, as all of you know, these things are never finished and you're never really happy with something. So there's some things in this that I've done for the first time and they're not quite as good as I'd like them to be. So I'm going to redo these things this year and bring you guys along for the ride. So let's go and have a look. So let's start with the outside of the van, and first off let's address the elephant in the room, that massive dent on the sliding door. This was how the van came to me when I bought it. Apparently the story goes that some Dutchman drove into one of the contractor's employees, leaving this massive dent. I've been looking for a door ever since, but you know, they're not easy to come by, not in blue at least. So on the back of the van there's a nice step there that's used as the rear bumper. When I first bought the van it was a panel van, and I put all the windows in. At least I had to go at 5 out of the 8 windows that are in the van, but they all leaked, so I had to have them cut out and put in by a professional company. So, but I had to go. I cut out all the holes. You can see there's a little vent halfway along the van. That's the water heater outlet. I painted that black because that came with a white cover, and yeah, I really like how the van looks in blue. I much prefer it over a white van. Apologies if you got a white van, but I really like it in blue. And the privacy glass, it does help just to make the van a little bit more stealth. It's obviously a camper van, but you can't really see in it. Here's some photos of the van when I first bought it and before I cut the windows in. As we move around the front of the van you can see the awning starting to peek into view. It's the Firearm F65S Eagle, which is the electric version. It doesn't have any legs, so you just wind it out on a button. As we move a bit further around you can see the blue chairs there strapped to the back of the oven unit. I think that's enough of me waffling about the outside of the van. Let's go in and have a look in the inside. That's much more interesting. Starting in the kitchen, we have this full-size kitchen sink. It's got a mixer tap, one of these drop-down heads that people quite often use, as well as a tap for filtered drinking water, a little drying rack, opening window, and a fire extinguisher for safety. This is all built into a worktop that I made myself, along with a splashback. We also have a 110 litre CRX 110 fridge. Has a little inbuilt freezer compartment in there that we keep ice cream and frozen pieces. Beneath the worktop is storage, cupboard doors that I made myself. I think I'm going to try and remake these doors because it was my first attempt and I used a pocket hole jig, but I think the wood was just too thin. So I'm going to remake these doors. That will come up in a future video and further on in the year. I also placed under counter LEDs to illuminate the cupboards once they're open. The floor also needs a good sand and a restain, I think. Further on in the kitchen, we have our little vintage gas cooker. A little bit worse for wear, it's missing one of the knobs. Open up this cover. You can see it's got a 2-burner. This burner's out of action at the moment because the knob's missing. Also has a grill and an oven. So when we're driving along, we keep the grill tray and the kettle in the oven for storage. It sits in there happily. Also at the front of the van we have a bulkhead, little cubby hole at the bottom for keeping our welly boots and dirty shoes, and a couple of coat pegs for keeping our coats so they can dry off when we're coming out of the rain. I opted to have a bulkhead rather than step through because the van does have air conditioning, so I figured as we're driving along I'd much rather try and keep the cab cool where we are rather than trying to cool the entire van. A bit better for thermal comfort. And I placed the window in here so that I could look out of each side before changing lane on the motorway, so didn't see the point in having windows all the way around the van and not be able to see out of them. Up on top you've got the shelf. Up here is our duvet and our mattress protector that helps to bridge the gaps in the cushions to make it feel like it's a one-piece mattress. It's not quite finished up here, the carpet's all rough, so I need to put a piece of aluminium angle over that to finish that off. And then we've got our high level shelf, keeps all of our bits and pieces, crockery and cutlery. trim fix adhesive, standard. This will all get painted in the future at some point. Moving a little bit further back, here we have the toilet. Inside here we have our little hanging storage for bits and pieces, and a porta potty. Window, if you're feeling brave while camping, you can have a look out the window whilst you're on the loo. All quite tight in there, but it's functional. Further back we have a little cubby here where the tables sit. They come out and go between the bench seats. As you can see, there's 4 holes in the floor, and the tables can go into various positions. We've gone for 2 bench seats at the back rather than a garage with a raised bed. As we had all these windows around here, it's a nice way to sit and relax and look at all the nice views when you're out in the van. Above we've got cupboard storage, overhead storage. These have got little magnets on them, little 12-volt magnets, so that when I start the ignition switch, all the cupboard doors lock, nothing falls out as we drive along. In this cupboard we keep a lot of board games. We kept finding ourselves having to pick things up when we get to our destination. So that's a really nice, handy addition. Again, more mood lighting up at the top here, so we can change the colour. It's all RGB lighting, but it's a bit softer than the ones that are underneath the cabinets. This can be a bit blinding, but it's great for when you're playing board games. Back doors, they need to be finished. They need carpeting on the back and panel making. I made these window surrounds. I did a pretty poor carpeting job around the window, so I made these surrounds, and one of the benefits is it helps to block the light that comes out over the top of the curtain, so you get proper blackout curtains, which is really nice when you want to have a lay in on a Sunday when you're camping. When it does come time to draw the curtains, we just turn the 2 sofas into a bed. The back of this sofa bridges the gap in the middle, and then these 3 cushions make a king size bed. When we are in bed, we have these little reading lights. They just pop over. It's a nice little way just to read and not have to get out of bed to turn the lights off. And they also have a little USB port in the side of them so that we can charge any devices that we've got with us. If we don't want to have our phones next to us, we've also got these little shelves up the top at the end of the cupboards, and got some USB charging points both sides to allow us to charge any devices that we've got with us. So one of the things with these cupboards is I want to finish off the face of these with some ply, remove this pocket hole joinery and tidy that up. Remake these cupboard doors. As you can see, like, they've started to split where the screws have gone into a thin piece of wood. I think I'll remake those with biscuit joints. At some point this year I'm going to remake the bed. I don't really like the way that the backs join the centre of the... I don't really like the way the backs move into the centre. Instead I'm going to have a pull-out system that bridges the gap, and then the uprights can be fixed in with hinges, and then we can pull those forwards and use that for additional storage. It's not really areas that we use very much at the moment. Up here we've got our control centre. I call it control centre, it's a switch panel. Eventually I'll end up painting this black. The yellow wires here are battery voltage, so that all comes in directly from the battery. And then I've got a power switch up here, and I switch, and that turns on a DC-DC. It's a 12 volt to 12 volt DC-DC that activates this red fuse box. I've also got the MT50 right there in the middle that shows our solar. We've got 520 watts of solar on the top, but as it's winter and it's pretty grim out, we're not generating a lot of power. Also got the switch for the water heater. Water heater's down in the cupboard. It's a Propex Malaga 2. That gives us about 13 litres of hot water, and then obviously the water tank level meter there. We also have Propex heating, air heating, gas heating, activated by this little black switch here. A balmy 9 degrees in here, as shown by our CO sensor. And this is our little panel for controlling the LEDs that are underneath the counter, as well as above the cupboards next to me here. This is our 2012 VW Crafter. I built it myself. and there are some aspects of it that I really enjoy, and there are some aspects that I really want to change and redo. So that's the end of the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and the notification bell to see any new videos that are coming out. I'm going to remake some of these parts because I'm not really happy with how the doors come out, for example, and I've got some off-road wheels and tyres to go onto the van before we head up to Snowdonia in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be remaking some of these parts, so any comments or suggestions that you have, actually they could be really useful. So I'd love to see what you think, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.